Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. Got two of our favorite regular guests here on the pod. Got Dave Short and Sterling Davis. Guys, thanks a lot for joining me. Just to get a little update on you guys. Dave, how's it going, man?
It's going good. We finished out a great year last year. We ended up closing 22 flips. Entered this year with 12, and we just closed the best flip we've ever done. We made 113,000 on one deal.
Nice, congratulations. That's great.
That's a good number for an old flipper.
That's good stuff. Where was that? What area was that in?
It was up in Carmel.
Nice, very nice. So very good. Congratulations there. Sterling, how about you? What's going on with you, man?
Yeah, man, nothing much. Still got Ethosty Property Management. That's doing really well. We are in a great position for the new year. Have a lot of new things that we're rolling out. New markets that we're looking at when it comes to other business ventures that I'm excited to kind of launch in the next 30 days. If we can get permitting figured out in Chicago, we'll be rolling. So
man,
it's been a good time.
That's exciting. I'll say some prayers for the permitting and stuff, and then you say prayers for you going into Chicago too. Man.
I know. Yeah, we've been exploring the co-living model. So we started Color Blocks about a year ago. Color Blocks is our syndication company, and then we have Color Blocks Living that is launching in the next 30 days, which we're exploring the co-living model, which is really fun. Little thing to be able to do. It's working in the bigger cities. So we've explored San Francisco, Texas, Florida, Atlanta's, New York's with this model. So we're pretty excited to kind of dip our toes into it.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Awesome stuff. The purpose of I wanted to have you guys on here today because you guys are both just integral leaders within CIREIA of what is going on here in Indianapolis. It's the largest RIA that we have here in Indianapolis. It's the go-to place on a monthly, weekly, just a daily basis if you're on the Facebook group and stuff like that. But I want to have you guys on because I wanted to talk about some great stuff that you guys have going on with CIREIA this year. I've already seen a huge change from just content that you guys are putting out, meetings that you guys have had, which I know I'm really excited about. All the people here in Indianapolis, the investors are excited about. My team members are excited. They want to go to the events and they're signing up for it and stuff just as far as our team goes, which is great. And I know you guys have had some great meetings already, but what do you guys foresee for 2022? What are some of the new flavors that you're maybe bringing in, some of the new things that you're doing as far as meetings and just networking and getting together and talking investing?
Yeah, so me and Dave has probably been in 50 meetings in the last 6 months to try to figure out this CIREIA board, the CIREIA vision and things. So, transparency, 2020 and 2021 was really rough for CIREIA. It was a time where we were on lockdown. We couldn't go, we couldn't meet. So we had to bend to what COVID said. And so we had to do Zoom. And so our membership kind of was impacted in a major way. So it was very important as we started building out, what's next. We had to start looking at how we're going to move forward, right? So some of that for us was just, we were like, man, we didn't like where CIREIA was headed. So we formed a vision committee. They installed me as the president later in the year of last year. And we put together a plan that I'm really pumped for, and it's been really exciting to see it being executed.
And Sterling is right about all the meetings we've had with the visionary, but we became focused on what was important for our organization to survive, and that was people, and that was networking. We announced at the last meeting that CIREIA has hired a new CEO to run the organization, and she's a dynamo. with all kinds of experience in the event space, in real estate, and her background, she was even a paralegal. So, but we've hired Kelly Sparks, who is coming over starting this week with CIREIA. And she's tasked with building our membership, building our networking base. She's the owner of Indy Expo, which she bought a year and a half ago, and she put on her own event at the Hyatt. She has another one scheduled next, I think it's this coming September. But she brings just a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of energy in the organizational side of that, and she's really tasked with bringing members to our group. CIREIA is CIREIA to join is at least in my mind is dirt cheap. It's $249 a year. And with that, you get 2 main meetings a month. Sterling will talk about one of the main meetings. You get access to 7 to 9 subgroups every month. We have separate networking events. Sterling had one downtown, investing and bourbon. I think the bourbon was the key aspect there, but we had a lot of people, and we had probably, what did we have, Sterling? You had 80 people there.
Well, we had 90 sign up, and then we had 115 that showed up. So yeah, it was amazing.
And we brought in Eric Armstrong and give us a quick pitch, and I had never met him, but he's just he was just a dynamo, and we have to bring him back because he gave a lot of information, but we think only 30 or 40 people absorbed a third of what he was talking about. And he kept looking at me. He said, "Yeah, I know Dave does all." I said, "Man, I've never heard of some of this stuff." So, but yeah, we're really got our heads strong to push this forward, and it's an untouched, Indy investors for CIREIA is really untouched. We can really build this into an amazing incubator network in Indianapolis.
Yeah, 100%. I think you guys have some great stuff going on. Like you guys mentioned the event with Eric and, investing in bourbon and cigars. I think that was a big part of the event too and stuff. And I heard that was amazing. And you guys just had your main meeting, with Patrick Grayson, and he had a huge turnout, some great information coming from the contracting side and things like that. But any other events like that you guys are thinking, outside of the box, like investing in bourbon? Like, I feel like that wasn't what CIREIA was thinking about, 2 years or 3 years ago. But I mean, that was a big event. So anything else on the horizon this year of some events like that?
Well,
absolutely.
Last weekend we had Flipperama, and this is our third time.
Is that the third time you guys have done Flipperama?
Yeah, it's the third time, and we had, we tried to pull it off, right after COVID, and we had 4 or 5 people sign up. This time we had 37 people sign up for the event, where people that want to be investors or people that are investors got to tour 4 houses that were at some stage of construction or finish, so they could see and they could get into the mind of the investors. We showed them scope of work, where we're at with the house, what our issues were, and for spending a Saturday, it give 37 people a tremendous insight in what investors do. Because we've always said, flipping is a really, really hard business, but it's an extremely rewarding business.
Yeah. I even think for an event like that, it's not even like the flippers, that's great for them, but it's also just great for any investor that are just looking to hey, how do I get better at analyzing deals? How do I hone in on this skill a little bit? Well, you can walk through 4 properties with other investors and people that are talking about it, doing every day. A great way to just understand analyzing deals a little bit more and what you should be looking for and what you shouldn't be looking for and things like that. So
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, so you asked, are we having any more events like that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
I
heard
mean,
you perked up a little bit about, yeah, we're
yeah,
doing some
yeah,
more
yeah.
bourbon stuff. We're doing some more events like this.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that when I took over as president, that I really wanted to get back to is doing the things that we're good at, and then take away the things and the challenges that we may have. Right.
Yeah.
So some of the challenges are right. We have made a big shift in the last 5 years, right, with CIREIA. Many people know we've moved to the Irvington Event Center from Broadmoor. And that was a challenge, right? I mean, Irvington is a beautiful space and we have a great amount of people that's new, but we lost some members because of being able to the transportation and things. So what we want to be able to do is meet people where they are, right? So we want to, CIREIA is about giving education. And so, sometimes, Brian, you know this, man, as a CEO and president of your company, sometimes you got to get back to the basics. You always reference like the book Traction, and Traction always talks about like, is your mission visible? Can you see it? And that's very common to what the failures that CIREIA was having, right? So when I took over, I was like, I'm going to build out a mission. Man, I started going through documents, websites. I was like, oh, CIREIA has a mission. Who knew? And it's a good one too, right? So it was to evaluate, to elevate the integrity and collective success of the real estate investing industry. And how we do that is by providing quality education and networking opportunities for real estate investors at all experience levels, right? And I was like, man, this is a jewel, and it gives us direction, it gives us who we are. And so when I started really looking at the pillars of success, I said, this is exactly the roadmap for success, right? Get back to quality education and get back to networking, and then remove all the other challenges that might take place, right? So that's why it's very important when it comes to events. I just sat down with a winery that is really open to the idea of us being able to come in there, have a meeting inside their winery. And so that's going to happen. Right. We love the Flipperama. Great idea. So Airbnb is a huge thing right now. So we're going to be launching the Airbnb Rama in the next couple of months. So it's a lot of things of realizing what we're good at and just keep doing that over and over again.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, and I'm glad to hear that you even brought that up about the mission statement too and stuff like that. Coaching a lot of teams throughout the nation and things like that. It's amazing what putting things like core values and a purpose statement and mission statement, putting those things in place. It's amazing how they can turn around a team, how they can get people all focused on the same on the right thing, because it's so easy within businesses, especially when you have something like CIREIA, where it's like, oh, we could be doing this, or we could be doing this, or like, oh, this person mentioned this, we should be doing this, or they don't like this, let's change it. Like, no, what is it? Is it on track with the mission? Are we staying true to the mission? Okay, yes, that's what we're gonna do, and head after that and stuff. So I think that's awesome. One of the things I had for you guys is, can you guys explain the makeup of kind of the leaders of CIREIA? So I know you mentioned that you just hired a CEO, and then but Sterling's president. So is he in charge? Is she in charge, or is the board like? So what's the makeup of like kind of the leadership team, and what's going on with that? Can you explain that a little bit for everybody?
Yeah. So at the head, you have the CEO, right? That runs the vision and mission of everything. Me as the president, I'm more on getting the vision and making sure that it's getting implemented correctly. And then the CEO kind of flows down to on a membership level of making sure that the membership experience is intact. And then we have Dave. Me and Dave are kind of at the same level, where Dave is our community guy. He's the vice president. I think we say it's community relations, because Dave knows everybody. And he's honestly, what we have is a whole bunch of vision people, me, Dave, Vicky, at this level where we're just vision, right? And then the CEO is a great executor of the vision in which we come up with. And then, of course, we have our board of directors still, and our board is an excellent board. We have a pretty diverse board that is helping the growth and the development of CIREIA. I don't want to name everybody because I'm live and then I'm going to forget somebody.
Forget
and
the
I'm
one
gonna get in
person.
trouble. Yeah, exactly. I don't
I'll
want
help
to do.
you out, Sterling, if you get jammed up. But we do have an excellent board, and our board has all kinds of experience in the real estate industry, and they all have experience in different areas of our thing. So, but yeah, and one of the things in CIREIA, it's just like I'm really excited about the Airbnb space, where you get to 2 or 4 Airbnbs at different levels. I mean, we've got a gal here that we can tap on to, Elizabeth Sickle, and she's one of the top in the country and on managing and training Airbnb people. And I think she has under management 25 or 30 Airbnbs in Indianapolis now. And she has Airbnbs that's grossing $70,000 a year on a house. And you divide that by 12, it's a big rental. I mean, it's a big number. So there's just so much there, and yet she still has Airbnbs that's $50, $75 a night. So she's just a wealth of knowledge that we get to tap onto. But one of our things that in the past in CIREIA, we always relied to survive. We always relied on guru speakers, and we're still going to have some, but we're going to pick and choose who we get to come in to work that space for us, and that they bring value to our membership. Right now, we're sitting on somewhere just under, probably low 600s in members. Our peak was 1,000 people, and we dropped like a rock once COVID hit and we weren't able to meet. So we're going back after those people to get back in the business, but we're also trying to bring in the new energy. We're giving people that's brand new, but we know we have to bring in the people that's doing deals out there today, because they have something to give to our group, but we have something to give to them also. And we're exploring it. One of the things Sterling and I and yourself are real excited about is that we want to start a mastermind through CIREIA, and we think we can build that into the top 25 people in our region and get them involved. And then we bring in top speakers that typically in a normal position we couldn't afford, but then we share those people with the CIREIA membership that'll be spearheaded by this group. So I'm probably more excited about that than anything that we're going to bring to our audience.
Yeah, I know. I'm super pumped about that. I've been banging that drum for a while. So yeah, I'm excited about that. But it's kind of funny if you're talking about all these, kind of the speakers you have coming in or the connections. And Dave, honestly, it comes back to like it's $249 for a year. Like, you telling me that like coming in and like just paying that, which it's not. I think it's super cheap, and that like to be able to make a connection with somebody like Elizabeth Sickles that could help you run an Airbnb, or a connection from a contractor that you might meet, or just that one person that you go and talk to Sterling about property management. You just catch one idea from Sterling because he's a giver and a sharer, and all of a sudden you can change your business and stuff like that.
Well, and the beauty with our leaders, and it goes way past me and Sterling and Vicky and Rick and our board. Is like somebody that's never done a flip can pick up the phone and we'll talk to him.
Yeah.
We'll all call people back. And so they have access to it. We have underlying, we have leaders in our group that are leading and don't know it. We have the Courtney Wheelers, the Darren Finneys, the Stacy Patlins. So we have all kinds of people that are leading our group, and they don't know they're leading our group yet. But that's the best kind of leaders.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
The Ronnie Reese with your with
Yeah.
your organization. So it goes on and on and on, but behind the core at the top of CIREIA.
No, I think that's the part that really excites me, right? One of the things as an organization, you have to know the pulse of your membership. So we often are surveying people. So you have to always have surveys that you can get feedback from your membership, or even inside your businesses that you have. You should know what your clients think of you at any given time. So we do this after every meeting. We do this after everything that we do. We have a survey, and part of that survey has been the idea that people just don't like the gurus as much as they used to, right? And part of what we've done is, you mentioned Patrick Grayson. It's creating a space where Patrick Grayson can be the star that he should be, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned about the $249. I'm not gonna lie, on Tuesday, he handed out a worksheet that had all his budgets and things for what he paid per square foot, what he did. That is way more than $249 worth of value just to have that sheet, right? So what we really looked at was the idea of how we can create a space that we can start elevating people that are locally in our market, that can give us real case examples of how they won or how they lost. And so for that is greater than any, guru who's going to pay a class. What we find is, like, we have our February 19th, we have our, and then all through February and March, every Saturday we have a different 101 level class, from holding to 101 level just in investing. And so those are all webinars. Those are all places where you can just log in the morning and get a host of information. I'm holding the 101 for the buy and hold, but it allows us to give you a real life perspective of investors that are locally from Indiana that's doing deals.
Yeah.
And one of my class and the one-on-one is that, and you never get flippers to talk about this, I talk about my 2 worst deals last year and how I survived them, even though I maybe had to write a check to sell them. But what went on in that deal and how we stayed focused to get it done. And I don't know anybody that's ever taught that class.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the most important classes that any new flipper should attend.
Yeah. A couple things like that is that you're not, it's really easy to probably sit there and talk about that $113,000 deal. And that's awesome and stuff like that. But honestly, that's
not the one I worry about.
Anybody probably could have done that one. They might not have made 113 because you had the experience and stuff, but anybody probably could have done that deal for the most part and made a profit on it. But you learn from the other things. And I think what you guys are really providing for everybody is you're providing a price that makes sense, that is super, super reasonable. You're providing the education that comes out of all that stuff too. But then we all know that, like, you can provide people with education. It's up to them to kind of do stuff with, and it really is up to them. But you guys are also providing this, allowing support to be on the backside of that as well, where people can come to you. So there's some people they can come talk to, and there is a support system there for them to take that education and really have some action with it as well, which I do think is awesome. So I know, Sterling, when we were talking before the episode, you mentioned kind of the 3 pillars of success that you guys have set out for 2022. And you mentioned that the first one is networking. Can you elaborate on kind of what you're doing with networking, and kind of what are the other 2 things that you guys want to get back to with what CIREIA is, who they are, and what people can expect from them in 2022?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. So the number one was, when we started looking at this, I always think of breaking things down into smaller increments so that we don't get distracted, right? So when I looked at basically our mission statement, like I said, it was pretty clear that networking and education was the core of what CIREIA was. So we had to get back to it. The knockoff was inside of COVID, networking became something that looked a lot different than what it was today. So I think people were really excited to just get back to talking and touching and hugging and just being able to vibe with people. So what we wanted to be able to do is create spaces where that kind of energy is able to be met. So for instance, with the Bourbon and Investing group, we thought, I told the people, they're my friends at Sticks, social bar and grill. And they say, how many people do you think? I was like, oh, about 30. The day of, I called Jillian, she's like, well, it's 80 people signed up. I was like, oh crap. So I tell them like, hey, it's going to be probably like 80 to 90, and 115 people showed. And it was, I don't know if you saw the picture online where it was like, everybody was really close. Yeah. And I got kind of scared. I was like, oh man, this is all bad. Like people are so close. And the feedback was, people really enjoyed how close it was because it forced them to network in a different way. Yeah. When you're in this big building and you see somebody across the room, you're like, oh, I don't have to talk to them. But when he's next to you, you're like, oh shoot, what do you do for a living? Hello, sir. Like, yeah. So I thought that was amazing from the feedback that we got. The second pillar was we wanted to explore new education investor outlets. What I mean by that is not just being able to give an education from the main meeting and things, but reevaluating what our subgroups look like and are they working? Reevaluating how people get information, right? So people get information now through social media, they get information from webinars and Zoom and podcasts. And so it was very important to be able to do things like this, get back to podcasting and getting back to opportunities that we can pass information without without the traditional sense of passing information, right? Yeah. They come to the main meeting, they come to the mastermind meeting on Tuesdays. That was the only way that we were able to pass information other than subgroups. And so it was very important to get back to doing things like this, where we're passing information from different outlets. And then just looking at the health of the culture of our business, we wanted to make sure that our enrollment and our impact was a success, right? And quantifying that number and understanding how that number fluctuates and what causes it, seasonality, what people didn't like, what they liked. And so all of that is why I think CIREIA is set up for success this year. I mean, we put the right people on the bus. I can go with all the corny like business book terms, right? We got the right people. You're all on the boat.
They're all rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can say all those, right? That is exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. And one of the things too that Sterling didn't mention is that we've been able to form a loose partnership with CIREIA, which is the other RIA in Indianapolis, and they've been holding our Tuesday meetings for us, which is now the third, I think it's third Tuesday, Sterling.
Yep.
And Steve Richards has spoke at 3 of the last meetings. The first meeting he spoke at for us, I think we had 12 people. The second meeting he spoke, we were at 30. The last meeting, we were almost at 100.
Yeah.
And Steve and Matt Griffin, they bring so much talent to our organization at a higher level. Steve is an excellent coach, and he gets it. He gives back, and he's associated in mastermind groups with the other top 20 in the country, not just in ours. So he brings high level stuff to our meeting, and the people walk out of those meetings just shaking their head on what they've heard, and it's never, they've never had it presented to them like he presents it to them.
Yeah.
So having him on board and Matt on board is just, it's unbelievable for our group because of the talent and the information that they bring for, what's that, $20 a month on it, it's silly. I mean, this is a guy that you would pay, you know, I paid $500 to go see him, and I thought that was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And he's a friend, but I still feel like I've got to pay him because of what he brings to us.
Yeah.
So to have that guy, have access to that guy, and he's not selling anything. He's there to just to give information on it. So that's just, you know, it's probably one of the biggest things that CIREIA has been able to pull off to get, you know, to add value to the people that's in our organization.
Brian, it's funny. I think there's something that I always like, we can sell CIREIA all day, right? But, it's things that people can learn from the journey of CIREIA, right?
Yeah.
I always laugh because we was in these meetings with Steve Richards and, the journey of INRIA versus CIREIA. It was almost like WCW versus WWE, right? Like it was like the Monday Night Wars, right? So I think what it shows is a level of maturity, right? To be able to partner with people because we have common goals and common interests, so that we can grow our business together. That it's literally better for us to be together than separate. So I think, as we started looking at this, one of the things that was stood out to us that we had multiple types of investors in one room. And how do you speak to each one of those investors, right? So we have our novice investor, and most people, if you asked them 2 years ago, they thought CIREIA was made up of 100% of novice investors, right? That's the kind of stereotype that CIREIA was known for. But that's not true, right? So CIREIA actually has a host of different people from novice to people that are doing like Dave, that is doing 22 deals last year, and people like Simple Wholesaling that, how many deals did you do last year, right? Hundreds. So it's imperative that we can speak to each one of those people in these pillars that in which we're talking about, right? We're talking about networking. We're talking about different outlets in which that we can do this. And so I think there's many people that run businesses that have multiple type of customers that come in, and they have to identify, how do you speak to those people consistently? Like, what is your avatar built out to make the most sense?
I relate it to church. You're going to the right church if you think the pastor's speaking to you every day.
Yep.
You are at the right church, and we want CIREIA to where that speaker's speaking both to the novice, the experienced, and can bring something to everybody that's in that room.
Yeah. And you don't want to go to a church that has all just experienced Christians or whatever it is, or just the novice Christians and things like that. So that's a great analogy. Guys, I know we're bringing you guys right back for another episode. I want to dig into a little bit more of what Sterling just was talking about and what CIREIA has to offer when it comes to, for their new members, for their members that are trying to figure out what strategy works for them, for the ones that are experienced in doing some stuff like that. So we'll get into that.
And I want to talk about my event space and how we're trying to get a real estate incubator here.
Yep. Awesome. And we'll dig into that. And before we jump off of this episode, though, where can people go to just learn more about what CIREIA is doing, what events they have coming up? What's the best avenue for them to hit up?
Yeah, CIREIA.club. It's CIREIA, CIREIA.club. So that's CLUB.club. So go to our calendar of events. It has all the stuff. It's updated. Please pre-register, because if anything happens with snow or anything, you're going to be notified because of that. I know I go on Facebook and Instagram and talk about it, but I just want to make sure people don't miss out on some change of events for some reason.
So awesome. We'll see you guys on the next episode of the Indy Investor Pod. Thanks.